Everything you're about to see, I am going to do with just these two devices. I'm not even going to touch my keyboard. Now hey there, this is Matt for Confident Builder. Do you want to do blazing fast power navigation in SketchUp? Well, that's what this video is about. In SketchUp, and I have to give credit where credit is due. Thank you, Tucker Webb from ArayaCAD. I forget exactly how to pronounce it. Tucker, remind me. But I am using my SpaceMouse right here in order to move around and through the model. Now, what's really cool about this is the fact that you can actually just go through you can go in through the model and go straight through things in order to see what's going on and move around. Now, the first tip that I'm going to give you as I zoom out right here is that wherever your mouse is, so right now you can see that my mouse is over the actual house, as opposed to right now, my mouse is on the horizon. Now, SketchUp takes into account what is going on. So if I zoom in, its proximity the amount of zoom or the speed of zoom will differ. So if I'm over here on the horizon, it will be really fast. So sometimes when you get in, as you're closer on things, as I get closer in on this little gable end, sometimes if I'm right here and zooming in, this is the context that SketchUp is having to take into account. Otherwise, sometimes you're going in through a wall. If I slip, instead of keeping my mouse right here over this door where SketchUp knows that the distance isn't that much, if I simply move my mouse right here into the background, then the zoom or the rate that I go in and out is actually faster than if I'm right here at the door. So I'm pushing about the same with the SpaceMouse. But here's the cool part. It is basically that I can navigate this model with these two devices without touching my keyboard. So for example, if I want to go into this and I want to zoom this, then I can just zoom it, come into a particular place, go to a particular area in this model. Let's zoom in a little bit here, go straight through the wall. Sorry about that. And I can show and hide the rest of the model. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Wanted to go straight through and simply show you that. So with the key on the mouse, now it is this mouse right here that has all of these different buttons. You can see that there's two banks of 6 buttons, which gives you an enormous amount of power where you don't even have to actually leave the keyboard. Now, what I do as I map all the different navigation keys, which is what we're going to be taking a look at. That's like when I have this zoomed out and I hit a particular button, I get this zoom extents. Now, if I want to actually hide the roof, I just simply click a button and I hide the roof. I want to hide this, I hide this whole floor. I hide this whole floor right here. I zoom around. If I want to see what it's going to look like looking from this back area, then I click a button on the mouse and I'm instantly transported there, and I'm actually able to looking outside of the windows. I'll move to the side, push out through that. I know I've got a little bit of glitch here, but I need to now go all the way to the back. I select the arrow tool and I go all the way back out. I need to show everything again. Well, I'm just going to click a button and everything's going to magically come back. So what we're going to learn in the rest of this video is how I'm actually doing this, what are the tools, and not only that, there are some cool things on the Macintosh that you can do. For example, if I'm zoomed in right here and I want to zoom out, watch me make a drawing motion with my mouse on the screen of a Z. You see that Z right there? That's going to zoom me based on my extents. If I'm zoomed in on this area, and let's say I've chosen to zoom in on that and hide the rest of the model, I zoom to the side of it. And what I want to do is I want to go into what is it? It is called the parallel projection. So I'm going to draw a V on my screen. So I draw a V. I'm now in that isometric view, and now I can just focus right on that particular view. Now I do have to bring it in screen right there, but now I can see right there, and doing your work in SketchUp this way makes it so much faster. I need to get out of that view. I'll hit a button and then I'll just zoom right here. I'll tap another button. And again, I have not even touched my keyboard, not once. And I can simply access my tools. If I zoom in on this and I need to draw things, I can make my move tool active. I can make my line tool active. I can draw lines. I can move things, do whatever I need to do. It's just absolutely awesome. So let's take a look. All right, so let's talk about the setup that you need in order to actually make this happen. First off, let's start with this right here. This is a 3D Connexion mouse. I think this is just the standard SpaceMouse. This particular model was only $149. They've got a $400 version that's got all kinds of buttons around it, but as my new friend Tucker advised me, if I'm in the process of orbiting, I have to take my hand off of the orbiting in order to hit one of the keys on the SpaceMouse. So that's where he suggested going with one of these. This is an MMO mouse. And what's really nice about this is you can see that we've got our regular first button, then we've got our second button, but you've got this button on the third side here or whatever, which depending on the software, you can basically shift in order to get a multiple of all of these keys. So first off, I have a bank of 12 keys that I can assign to things, but using the shift, I can then shift and get a whole second set or 24 more. And beyond that, you can actually put in even more combos than that. And this doesn't even include the software that I'm using on the Macintosh, which allows me to draw on the screen and trigger keys themselves. So let's cover some of the essential keys that you need for power navigation. First off, the rotation and everything that's going on right now is controlled by the mouse. But on the mouse, on this particular version, we have two buttons. So as we look at this, there's a button right here, and then there's another button right here. Now you can assign keys to those within the software. We'll actually take a look at that. Let's go to our system preferences, and then we will bring up and take a look at the 3D Connexion preferences that we have right here. We can see that we've got the mouse, and we can select on the buttons. So you can see what I have done. Let's see if I can zoom in right here. I've taken the opportunity to say the left is going to be the shift key for me because you're many times constraining things. And then the other one is going to be the option key right there that we see. And the option key is typically what I'm going to duplicate. Now, if you're on a Windows PC, because I'm on a Macintosh here, then you're probably going to be using different combinations, either Control and Shift or Alt and Shift. It really is going to be up to you. But the whole core is you simply want to assign two of those keys to be your modifier keys. Because if one of them is a modifier key, then what happens is it can modify what you end up doing on your mouse side with your keys over there. That's outside of the software that you use to configure what you're going to do. So in SketchUp, what you need to know is you need to know some of the most powerful tools that you have access to. Let me see if I can set this up here so that I can zoom. This zoom extents is very powerful. What we need to know about this is whatever is on screen, the zoom extents will take that into account. So there is a function that is right here where we get the ability to hide and unhide. So we've got a key combination that we can use right here where we unhide all. So what we do is we go into the SketchUp preferences, and in the SketchUp preferences, there is the ability to control shortcuts. So with the shortcuts, there isn't one single menu command that I can think of that you can't simply find by actually typing in that command. So for example, hide right here, we can see that I've got two keys assigned. I've got H, just the simple H, which by default is set to the hand tool. But in this case, we don't need the hand tool because we're using our 3D mouse in order to orbit, pan, and do all of the other things. So we disassociate H from the hand tool. We associate H to hide rest of model, meaning whatever we're focused on, the rest of the model will disappear, allowing us to work just in that one area. Then with the zoom extents, it will zoom just on that particular area, making for very quick navigation in and out, because as soon as we unhide or do the inverse, then we're able to do that. So the Shift H and the H that I have here, and by the way, you can assign whatever key you want here. It really doesn't matter. It's completely up to you. In fact, you can even assign keys that may not even be on your particular keyboard. You can see right here, if I can get this up here, my keyboard is not an extended keyboard. It's actually just a very short keyboard. So I don't even have the home and the end key assigned in order to actually do things. So let's zoom back out here. The whole key is you want to assign shortcuts that allow you to map those shortcuts to the mouse software. So with the zoom extents and the hide, I can double click into a group. Now this group is just my whole floor, but with the key assigned to one of my zoom extents, if I'm zoomed all the way out, there's no point in me zooming all the way in order to get to that. I simply just click a key. So I'm zoomed out right here and I click the key and zoom extents automatically focuses on that. Now the hide unhide is assigned to a key which allows me to hide and unhide the rest of my model. So if I zoom in to a particular place, like I want to be on this floor right here and have that perspective, I can see what it's going to look like looking back out that window by being able to hide and unhide without actually going out of this group. And then that zoom extents allows me to just simply pop right there. Now on the top key of my mouse, a lot of the operations, a lot of these tools that you're going to use, at least on the Macintosh, they require you to hit the escape key to get out of them. So on this mouse, what I do is this very topmost button right there, that one is assigned to the escape key. So as I'm using the mouse right here, what I end up doing is I end up moving my finger over in order to press on that as the escape, meaning I don't have to go to the keyboard. I simply just escape out of the area that I want. Because as you can see on screen right now, in order to get out of this view, of course I can hide and show everything around it with those two shortcuts, hide and unhide. But in order to get out of this, I need to escape. So I just moved my finger over and I escape out of that group. Now with the hide, you're able to hide things in SketchUp. And if you group them intelligently, which Tucker taught me, do it by level. So when I select my floor right here and I click a button, I've actually hidden that floor. I click on the next floor and I hide that floor. Now that doesn't mean that you don't use tags. In fact, I haven't used tags at all with regards to visibility yet in this model. I also have a key which I just now hit on my mouse and it brings everything back. So I'll take my roof off, get rid of that whole group, and then I'll drill into this one. And let's say that I want to see the perspective of this without my exterior walls. Well, that's where we combo in the use of tags. And you can see right here that I've got a very effective use of tags where I've got everything based on levels. So any given level, I can turn that on or off. I can turn off the whole basement, the whole main floor, the whole second floor. But of course, what I'm doing when I'm power navigating is I'm simply just hiding them or drilling into that group and hiding the rest of the model. So I don't actually have to use the visibility here on these, but it does give me the ability to do that using in a tool like the SketchUp Viewer, which is really helpful. So in this particular case, as I zoom out here, I think on this, I'm on the second floor in particular. So in this case, if I was wanting to look at the interior walls without the exterior, you can see right here that I do have, in fact, a tag for my exterior versus my interior walls. And so I'll just simply turn off my exterior walls. And so now I'm able to just simply look at my rooms as if my exterior walls weren't there. Now, of course, you can always use the cross section in order to do things, but remember, we are inspecting and viewing our model as we design it, as we actually get things done. So I'll turn on my exterior walls, we'll move the tags off screen, and we'll go through just a few more of these options that make it really nice, because I want to show you the software that we're using in order to do that. So we will click here, we'll escape out of that. Remember, I hid my roof, and so I would need to unhide everything in order to bring that back. So some of the other things that really make it nice is, for example, that parallel projection. If I'm in here and I need to take a look at this, I can double click, and of course I've got a button that will actually let me go to the isometrics and then just, line that up for me and make it so that I can actually move it. I wanted to hit the right one. One of the problems is when we zoom this, when we go into our view where we can do it, if it doesn't put it in the right location and it's sort of out of view, let's say it's out up at the top right here, we do have to default to using the keyboard and doing a shift pan so that we keep everything exactly square on. Because if we do use our 3D mouse when we're in our parallel projection, well, it just messes things up. It works great for when we're in perspective, but it does not when we're in this view. So even though we have keys assigned on the mouse in order to lock us into the view, and by the way, this is actually using this particular plugin. There is a plugin from Curic that is using this particular view right here, this particular icon. It is align view current. So that is assigned in my shortcuts, meaning whatever you're looking at, it just says, okay, you're looking at this view. It just squares it up for you in your parallel projection. So it makes it really easy for you to work by going in and out of these views really quickly. So finally, as a wrap up, we're going to take a look at the software that I'm using for the mouse. On the Macintosh in particular, if you're going to get one of these MMO mice, which this for me most recently was only $34. This is the Logitech G600. And at $34 with the $149 for the SpaceMouse, being able to basically switch in and out of all of my different views, and being able to, zoom really quickly and get to where I'm able to unhide everything and show all my model, it's just really awesome. The software that you're going to use, I am going to be using the Logitech G Hub. So what we see on screen right now, I've got actually two mice connected. This was the mouse that I started with, the G305, which is a super small mouse and super lightweight. But you can see it did not have the buttons that I need in order to do everything within SketchUp. Whereas the G600, when we look at that, we're going to see when we switch to all of the different key assignments and go to the side, we can assign all of these keys to all of the different things that are, all of our functionality, everything that makes it really cool. So you can see right here for this first bank, I've got escape space, and the escape space is a macro here in this Logitech mouse, because on the Macintosh, you can't just hit the space bar in order to select the arrow tool. You actually have to get out of a particular tool and be able to get back to the space bar. If we shift over here, you can see that the G7, the button that's slightly elevated on the top, when I take my mouse and I just move my hand over in order to trigger that, it's right at the point where hitting this with the middle of my index finger is actually really great, and that's where I've assigned the escape. Of course, this mouse has a thing called DPI cycle where you can make it go slower or faster. It's sort of like shifting a car. And then, of course, this third button over here allows me to shift and then access a whole second bank of all of these different things. Do I have anything on this one? I do. I actually delete. So if I'm selecting a bunch of things, let's say I've got a bunch of lines selected and I want to delete them, I simply just hold my finger down on this particular side of the mouse, and then I click on the top right there, and it just deletes whatever I have selected. So zooming out, we can take a look at some of these again. We'll turn off the shift. It is just so incredibly powerful. Take a look at some of these. You can see that here I've got all of these. This M in this software represents a particular macro. And let's go set up one on the shift so you can take a look. So I'll select this G15 button right here. And let's say I've gone into SketchUp and I've taken the time to set up a shortcut. Well, all I'm going to do is I'm simply going to create a new macro in this. And the macro allows you to assign any key combination you want. So I create the macro, and I'll just call this a test macro. Usually what I like to do is just name it associative of whatever keys you're doing. So let's say it's Control-Shift-L, and then we hit that. Now, you get to choose what type of macro you're going to do. We can see that I've got a no repeat, a repeat while holding, a toggle, and a sequence. Well, in my case, most everything is just a no repeat sequence. So you select no repeat, you click start, and what it's going to do is it comes up with all of your options you can see right here of what you're going to do. Now, the only thing I've ever used is simply recording a sequence of keystrokes. So whatever you've assigned in SketchUp as your keystroke sequence for whatever menu option it triggers, you're simply just going to put that in right here. So I think I said I was going to do Control-Shift, and I do not want to switch off of the, you can see down there at the bottom there, I need to move out of the way. The software is actually telling me you're in the, I've switched into the desktop. So what this does is it pays attention to what application you're in. Those are profiles. So we'll take a look at that. But in this case, I want to say no because I want to stay in this particular sequence. And of course, it's capturing my mouse clicks here, which is not what I want. I do not want that. I would actually need to go in and make the macro. So you can see right here what the software did is it switched me into a different profile. Up here, up in the top, you have these different things called profiles, and a profile is respective of a particular software application. So I actually have a SketchUp software application, and that's where I need to create my macro. So the profiles are controlled here up in the top. When we go to our profiles, you can see, and I haven't been able to, my kid created a Fortnite macro, but I only basically have two. I have my desktop profile, and then I have a SketchUp profile. So when I'm using SketchUp, then the Logitech software here recognizes that I've moved into SketchUp, and then it switches to use that profile. So when I'm on a particular mouse, in this case with the MMO mouse, and I'm in SketchUp, then it's going to take into account all of the different options that I have. And of course, with that shift on, I get the first bank of 12, then the second bank of 24. You can see that I haven't even taken advantage of my second bank here. I've just scratched the surface. Tucker got me started on this, and I was so excited. I wanted to bring you the video, and this is what I'm doing. So that's the first software. That's the native software that comes with the mouse, and then the 3D mouse has its own software that gets installed. Again, if you're on a Macintosh, you need to use something that has software that you can use. For me, Logitech was the only one that had native software. There is third-party software that you can get. But if you're on a PC, you can go get a Red Dragon or a Razer or a UTech or whatever all these other MMO mice are. But if you're on a Mac, make sure you get one that has software support. So the last thing I'm going to leave you with in this power navigation video about, it's just so awesome being able to, double click and be able to see that I want to take a look at the view, hit a key, which is basically going to be position my guy right there. Let's hide the model. Oh, I can see everything. It's just so cool. And zoom me out right there and escape out of that, doing it all with the mouse. Isn't that awesome? That's just so awesome. The software that we have here in the, select this. I don't know what's going on here. It's there we go. It got me out. The software that we have on the Macintosh that allows us to draw on screen. So when I'm here, let's say I'm zoomed in really tight and I want to be able to draw on the screen, I'm using my right mouse button, not my primary button, the primary left click, but a right click. And as I draw on screen and you see that Z right there, these are called gestures. Now, the application that I'm using, if we go up here, I've got this better toolbar. You can see that my toolbar expands out and shows all kinds of additional things. I like to keep those hidden for the purpose of a video. But right here, I have a tool that is actually called, what is this called? BetterTouchTool. So you can see it right there as I zoom in. BetterTouchTool on the Macintosh is this wonderful piece of software that has all of these different options where you can, for example, take advantage of, let's see if I can get it zoomed in right there, a touch bar. If you've got a touch bar, fortunately, they got rid of those things on a Mac. A magic mouse. If you use a trackpad, if you use keyboard shortcuts, sequences, normal mouse, a Siri remote, a BTT remote, which I think is using your iPhone if you want to, automations named, and then finally we have triggers and gestures. Now the triggers and the gestures are yet another way on the Macintosh when you're using SketchUp that you can take advantage of symbologies or these things. Now, first off, what I did is you add an application to the BetterTouchTool. So here we can see I've got SketchUp, and in SketchUp, you can see that I have two different combinations. I have a Z shape and then a V shape. So let's say I was going to put in a shape for L that I can draw on the screen. Well, all we do is we go in here, and what it's going to do is it's going to come up with this. What it does is it captures all of your different drawings. You don't have to do like an L for SketchUp and then an L for the Finder or some other piece of software. It has all of them. So as we scroll through this, we can see that it already captured my Z shape and my V shape. So I never need to make those shapes again, but I can use them in different software. If I draw a V in SketchUp, it will do what I have it assigned to do in SketchUp. If I draw that V and I'm in some other application or in the Finder, then it will do that as well. So we're going to draw an L shape. And so the easiest thing for me is to simply just, call it what it is. I'm doing an L shape. I don't have to get creative with this. And what you do is you simply just draw it here on the screen. So I draw it down and over. And so as soon as I draw that, you saw that this became active right here. Add another variation of the same gesture in order to increase recognition, the recognition reliability. So here again, I can just click and draw another one if I wanted to, or I can just click finish right here. And when I finish this, then it now has the L shape in there along with the Z shape and along with the V shape. And all I have to do is select an action. So when I click this, then the panel changes. Over here, we get the ability to choose from, yet again, let's move this off to the side so that we can see it. We have a litany list. I mean, just tons of options of what you can do here. Mouse actions, other actions, screenshots, window navigation, window resizing. But basically, all we want to do is we just want to send a keyboard shortcut. Because if we send that keyboard shortcut, that shortcut matches to a shortcut that we've mapped within SketchUp in order to do something. And I don't have anything off the top of my head that I would have the L do. Let's just do something silly like the R tool for the rectangle tool. So there we go. So what do we expect when we're over in SketchUp? And then we then use the left button right there in order to draw. Well, I'm going to get the rectangle tool. And there it is. It just showed up on screen. Draw my rectangle, do whatever I want to do. And this is what you have for power navigation and also power editing and power modification in your model without even leaving your keyboard. And this is the coolness that is, I am so thankful. Tucker, to you, thanks a lot. This has really improved my game in SketchUp, and I hope this video has helped other people out. And you can become a confident builder. Remember, click subscribe, leave your comments below, and if you have anything else, then I'll talk about it in the next video. See ya. Bye.